Hello and welcome back to the J&Z podcast. My name is Jace Van Ort,
And I'm Zeph Makala.
and today we're going to be talking about our experiences with VR. So, I got an Oculus Quest just a little bit ago, a couple months ago, but Zet's had a PlayStation VR for quite some time. And how was the support? I kind of want to get your thoughts on the VR. So, how was it the support for it back then, and how does it compare now? Do you think it has a future? Is it growing? What are your thoughts?
With VR, it's kind of interesting. I think that there is definitely a future with VR. I can see it coming. The thing is, I just don't think it's as popular as it was. Like, the idea of it isn't as revolutionary as it was.
I kind of agree, but I kind of disagree. And the only reason why is because of the Oculus Quest 2. Everybody who was anybody this Christmas season got an Oculus Quest 2. And as such, we've seen a massive influx of little children on the apps and games. And I think that those kids growing up with it might kind of push it forward. I don't think adults are into it as much as children, despite how much kids probably shouldn't be on it.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely see a future with the platform. I definitely do. And I think at one point in time, we're definitely going to see maybe even like, maybe not Ready Player One,
Right.
but we'll definitely get to a point where I think that the games will be just as big and massive as like any other AAA game.
And I can't wait. I think the biggest limitation right now for VR is the resolution, because we have near 4K displays, but you can still count all the pixels. It's very hard because of the limitations of the hardware and software, but especially hardware, because it has to run a game 360 degrees, keep up with it, but it has to run it on such a high refresh rate and high resolution screen. I think even an 8K screen would look not as good as if you're just playing a video game on a 1080p or 4K or even 1080p TV sometimes, just because
I
of
don't,
how close you are to the screen.
yeah, I don't think it's necessarily the resolution for me because I have the PlayStation VR and it's not the worst, but it's not the best. But I think for me, it's mostly the games. Right now with VR, they're mostly just little experiences. I mean, there's some of them that are pretty good. I mean, like you and me, we've been playing Rec Room, and I mean, it's still a big game, but it's more so just like tiny experiences you can have with your friends.
Yeah, and it's probably the most fun game we have on VR. It's very much like a Roblox type of deal, where you can probably do most other games through it, but it's not quite the same. And I feel personally that we're still waiting for bigger games to come out for it at this
Yeah,
and it just at this point it still almost feels gimmicky, like it's something personally it's just something that's just not where it needs to be at the moment. But
I definitely
yeah, go
agree
ahead.
with you where it feels gimmicky because anytime there's like a PlayStation game and then they launch like a VR version of it, that's amazing. But at the same time, it just feels like, it's cool add-on, but it's not something I would play all the way through again just with VR. Kind of like No Man's Sky. Like I tried to do that VR version of it, and it's cool. But to whip out your pistol, every second, and then having to, use your hands as like navigating the menus, that can get tedious after a while. So, you just go back to a regular remote.
Yeah, I can see that, and I guess it all depends on what you're willing to tolerate. Like, what are the trade-offs you're willing to have for VR? And I'm not sure they've perfected it yet, but I do think they're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I definitely do too. And I think that we're going to get, I can't say in the next 5 years, but I can say in the next 10 years, I can definitely see a full bodysuit, at least with the prototype of a full bodysuit that's ready. But I can definitely see hand gloves in the next 10 years. Easy.
Oh, easy, probably 5. There's been a lot of in the modding community, there's been a lot of people doing full body tracking and especially gloves. There's just hasn't been any main players in the game. None of the manufacturers have introduced it so far. I don't think it's quite there yet.
Yeah. And if they're going to do that, I mean, that's amazing. But they have to have it where, like, you're on like a treadmill, kind of like Ready Player One almost in that beginning when he's like on a treadmill.
Yeah, and they have some stuff, and you can buy those, but they're just so finicky because you have to wear. It's like a big bowl that you're running in, so you have to clip yourself in, and then you have to wear these special slippery shoes. And it is quite immersive. I heard an experience of one guy. He was playing Skyrim in it, and the very first time he ever felt a rush was when he was running away from some guards and had to jump off of something. That was like the coolest thing for him. But in general, it felt like a gimmick still because it's just such a clunky apparatus, and it's just a little bit too big and clunky to be the standard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the technology's cool. It's just not ready for market yet, I feel like.
Yeah, it's definitely still in its baby phase. But I still think that VR on its own, with just a couple controllers in the headset, is still a really cool experience and one I think people should at
Oh
least
yeah.
try.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those experiences where like if you have a bunch of friends over, it's like, "Hey, come here and try this little game I have."
Yeah, I just remember the first couple times I tried VR. It was just the coolest thing ever. I could not take it off. We were all taking turns, and I just was like, I couldn't wait to get back on. I think we were playing what's it called, Super Hot, and it was super short, and I just went through all the levels because I didn't know it was that short a game, but it was just so intimidating. You know, they're all running at you, and it was just a very cool experience, and I think it was worth trying for that.
Yeah, but like I said, VR games haven't been to the level that I want. They're not even like a double A game yet. They're kind of just a ripoff for most of them. For instance, if you were to pay full price for one game, like let's say it's $20, at the most it's like a 5 hour game.
Yeah, there's been a few experiences like the I Expect You to Die series games. Those are kind of worth the money that you put in because they're not super long, but they're incredibly well made and funny and intuitive. So there are a few. I think PlayStation's done an especially good job. You're able to play in Trackmania Turbo. You're able to play Gran Turismo Sport. You're able to drive all the cars in VR, and you can hook up a steering wheel to it. That's super cool. No Man's Sky, I got to give them a lot of credit. They really pulled through, and just adding VR support, I still think, even though it might be uncomfortable, it's still a really cool experience.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm glad that like the option is for that. I'm just waiting for the games to get up to a standard of I don't know, like just a triple A game. Like for instance,
They
there's
have.
a really great Star Wars game called Vader Immortal, but it's just an experience. It's one of the coolest Star Wars experiences. If you're a fan of Star Wars, get Vader Immortal. It is seriously one of the coolest VR games in the world. It's just an experience though. There's not a lot of gameplay to it. You kind of go through the levels and it's like people are talking to you and then you have the 2 seconds of you're whipping the lightsaber. That's
Hmm.
like all the games are necessarily for it.
And that's a shame. And I think so far the only couple games that are really, truly there is probably Skyrim and then Half-Life Alyx and then No Man's are really the only three. But those three especially still those there's it's still only three games unfortunately. And the rest are all competent, but a lot of them it feels like right now it kind of feels like an arcade. Like you go to the
Yeah.
arcade, you have all these different options, but they're very, very direct and limited. Like you got Shooty Fruity the other day playing that, and it's a fun game. It's cool, but at the end of the day, it is still kind of just a high score beat 'em up. You know?
Yeah, that's in one thing I wish they would do is come out with like a streaming like a game pass for VR because there's so many great games out there, but for the $20 price tag of like a 5 hour game or a 2 hour game, it's not worth it. Like Super Hot VR,
I know
great game, great game. But in the most, you can beat it in about like an hour and a half
it. It goes
if you're
by so
super good.
fast.
Yeah, but the game is like what, $35? It's not worth $35. You get it when it's on sale.
I'm
That's like
happy that it's not more because of the development and such, but it is still expensive for what it is. Even so,
yeah, so that's why I really want them to do like a platform where it's like, "Oh, You pay $5 and you get every single VR game, kind of like a Game Pass.
That's
It's
what I
just
was.
very
Yeah,
convenient.
I just don't see the money in it. Unfortunately, the reason Game Pass works is because of the sheer number of games throughout the years. I don't know if VR's built up the same kind of library yet.
I think there is. It's a good library. I'm just saying for me personally, like I don't want to go out there and spend $100 just to get, 15 hours worth of gameplay.
Right, right.
I'm more well off of buying, one of Sony's big AAA games for $60 and that can last you days on end.
Speaking of that, um, they've been announcing they released the design of the headset and all the specs for it. The PSVR 2. Are you thinking? What are your thoughts on the new Horizon game that's coming for it? Because I think it has potential if it just has a bit of a story to it. It doesn't have to be the same size as the other ones, of course, but I want there to be more to it than the average game.
Yes, I'm definitely hoping this is in the right steps because Sony, I mean, there's games that you can't play on your Oculus that I can only play on my headset. And I mean, there's exclusive games for Oculus that aren't on the PSVR. But I'm definitely hoping this headset is in the right direction of what the future of VR is and the games for VR.
I'm looking
Because,
forward to it because Sony in the beginning with the PSVR was just so it did so much for that industry, and I'm hoping they're able to pull through it again with the PSVR too.
yeah, I think that the PlayStation VR headset it has the most units sold for a headset.
I don't know. I'm kind of surprised if it held that, but I'm sure at the time it was.
Yeah, maybe the Oculus 2 Quest has overtaken it, but I definitely know at one point it was definitely the most units sold. But what I hope is Sony had a ton of great games on the PlayStation VR. Really great experiences. But like I said before, they're just experiences. It's not necessarily like a big bombastic game. So that's why I'm hoping this new Horizon game is the start of that. I'm not saying I need a 60-hour plus game, but give me like 20 hours or more. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I'm hoping that with the power the PlayStation 4 has, cuz or the PS5 has, they're able to amp it up. Because I mean at this point, I've looked into it, even my phone has more power than a PS4. But with such a I'm not joking. It does. It and it they did pretty well with what they had as far as the PS4 hardware goes, but if they're selling Oculuses and they're able to play so many Oculus games with just I don't even know what's in that thing. It doesn't seem like it'd be all that powerful cuz it's just all inside of it. I've seen the PS5 running. Horizon Forbidden West looks incredible on it, even in 4K, and it doesn't run the best. Well, it runs fine. I'm rambling. Anyways, I'm really hoping they take advantage of what they have.
Yeah, I think they will, and I think it was smart. I mean, I was one of the people that's like, oh, go for a wireless headset. But then I thought about it and I was like, maybe it's better what they did with the USB and it's just the one string cord because then you can utilize the power of the PlayStation 5 to up the graphics. You can have the best resolution on those goggles, but if you don't have the power to sustain it, then it's kind of useless.
Yeah, it's such a trade off, and we're just not there yet with our wireless technology. Only reason Oculus works is because the whole thing's in the headset, and the only reason, and so one cord's the best we can do at this time. I'll have a
I will say
wireless.
though, I
Oh,
am glad that they updated the move controls because those are awful for PSVR controls. I mean, they work
I'm glad they
competently.
got rid of the camera in general.
Oh yeah, I'm really happy that they went with a Quest like design. But there's a ton of more features that are very exciting for this headset. Like the one I don't hear anyone talking about is
Is it? Are you
the
talking about?
vib
Yeah.
the vibrations in the headset. That is nuts.
I don't know what the heck they're gonna. I gave a couple examples, but I just still don't know why they chose to put one in there. I don't know what they'll do with it.
I'm very excited to see what they do with it because that can just add a whole level of immersion. Like I remember the first time I played VR and I was like, "Whoa." Or you look over the cliff or the edge and you're like, whoa, that's a long ways down, and you feel like you're about to fall off. After a while in VR, you get used to it and it doesn't, it wears off.
Yeah.
With these vibrations, I mean, you can feel the wind possibly, or if you're in a gunfight, you can feel bullets whizzing by your face. That's very exciting to hear.
I think I mentioned this early in one of the previous videos, but if they ever make a Spider-Man game, which I'd be shocked if they didn't, I want spider senses to be that. That'd be the coolest thing, to have your head vibrate and something's about to attack. That'd be the coolest thing ever.
That is a very good idea.
I'll even let Sony have it for free. You can take that idea and roll with it. I just want to copy the game. Anyway.
Just make sure there's a little, pension of money in there.
Yeah. I get some royalties, of course, but but yeah, and having tried the PS5, the adaptive triggers and the haptics in them are just amazing. And that's one thing I really miss, because the Oculus does what it can with just its simple motor, but I can only imagine how much more you're going to be able to feel like you're actually grabbing things. That was the one thing I loved about my friend Blake's headset. His is all hooked up. He has a valve or something, but the nice thing was you could strap it to your hand, and you didn't have to pull any triggers. Like in Super Hot, you could just reach out and just grab the controller because it's attached to your hand, and you'd pick stuff up because there were sensors all along it. I think that the triggers and the various motors, I think, will have something similar. Not necessarily that exact same thing, but that kind of level of immersion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I remember when I've never played on the PlayStation 5 controllers yet, so I don't know that level of trigger adaptability. But when it comes to the Xbox One controller, I remember when I was playing the new Forza game and the trigger started vibrating, I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what it's going to be like for the PlayStation 5 controller.
It gives you some semblance of an idea on the Xbox ones, but they really don't. It's there, but it's kind of like the difference between just a normal controller rumble there, and I'd say that the triggers on the PS5 are very comparable to something like the Switch Joy-Cons. That level of like, oh, it went from just a little rumble to all of a sudden it's super precise, all this stuff. That's kind of like between the Xbox and PS5 controller. And it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, that does sound pretty cool. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to look forward to. Like I said before, it's not. I think we're just all waiting for that next big level in VR gaming. And I think that the PlayStation VR 2 is that level. We just have to wait to actually get our hands on it or see it in motion in like a video. I just think that the concept and the coolness of VR has worn off, but it does have a bright future.
I think so too. And yep, whenever I get that headset, if you guys want, I can do a little unboxing and kind of show it around. But um, yeah, that'd be kind of neat. Just an idea. But yeah, overall, we're pretty hopeful for it, and we're pretty impressed with it so far, and we can't wait to see what the future kind of holds for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Was there any other news that's kind of come out recently in the gaming sphere? I've seen a couple different headlines, but I'm having trouble thinking of one. Do you have any that popped out to you recently?
I know Valve has come out with their Switch competitor in the last
Oh,
week.
they got the Steam Deck out. That's right.
Yeah. And while I'm not one for PC gaming, I mean, I'm pretty jealous about this one. This one is really cool.
I was actually kind of interested in getting one. I ended up not getting one just in lieu of other things, but when it was first announced, I think that it's be kind of nice if somebody who is a console gamer, it kind of gives them an intro into kind of the world of PC gaming. Because if I did have one, me and my Macintosh ain't doing any gaming besides, the Colonel Sanders dating simulator I found on Steam. That's the only thing I can do on here. So, but besides that, it's nice. It's kind of a neat concept being able to bring all your PC games that have their own benefits just on the go and with a fair bit more power than something like a Switch.
Yeah. I'm not saying like it's greatest thing in the world because, like I said, the Switch was that step into like, oh, we can go portably now with our games. So
That was the
hearing that you can
coolest.
take your PC games on the go, it's like, okay, that's cool.
True.
But it's
But
definitely
neither of us
cool.
really
Like,
have a big library on PC either.
no, but it's definitely cool that Valve did that. It's definitely the right step for them. I
And people
just
seem to
don't.
like it.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be as competitive to the Switch as people say it is,
Oh, it's not one bit.
honestly, because it's almost an entirely different category. Because,
It's a lot more niche, and it's for those specific people that want
yeah,
to.
what's the price on it? Like, what, 1500?
I don't think. No, it's not that much. Let me look it up real quick.
It's like a crazy amount. I just know for me, like the price range is not even competitive to the Switch. The Switch's $300 price tag is still,
If you want the 64 gigabyte one, it's $400. But if you want the 256, or it's 550. But I wouldn't want a 64 gig one.
yeah, you'd want to get 200. I mean,
You couldn't
games
even get
nowadays are
anything,
almost 200
especially
gigabytes.
on PC. You're dealing with massive file sizes. Switch gets away with it, but
I think that price tag alone, I mean, it's the cost of a PlayStation 5. So it's not even going to be a competitor to the Switch. It'll be a cool thing for PC people, and I think the majority of people who have a Steam library, it'll be worth it for them. But for somebody like us who has none on the PC library, it's not worth it.
yes, ask me any given Sunday if I'd rather want one of those or a PS5. I'm picking the PS5 every single time.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's cool that you get to play the official like Jedi Fallen Order on the go. It's cool that you get to, Cyberpunk 2077 on the go. That's cool.
But it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So yeah, that's our thoughts on that. Then you know what? I think that wraps up this week's episode. So thanks.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
I mean, the Batman's coming out, or it is out.
yeah. Hopefully, I'll be able to get to see that tonight. No guarantees, but when we both see it, we'll probably make a video on it if we both, feel up for that. So you can look forward to that soon.
Yep, that was probably next week.
Next week. And dropping a little hint, I'm not going to say anything, but we got something big coming out next week. So look forward to that. With next week or so, I'm going to give us a little time frame, but we worked super, super hard on this, especially Zeth. So we really want to see this get a lot of love. So yeah, look forward to that. Can't spoil nothing. Maybe we'll post a short or something before, but see you guys.